All right, guys, we are bringing this truck back. So I wanted to give you guys a bunch of updates on this thing because this has by far been one of the biggest projects I've ever had to work on. And this thing's been interesting. So we finally got this thing back in. It was put on hold for quite a while. A lot of stuff going on. So I'm gonna show you guys. We do have a couple things to do. We actually are gonna be pulling the dash tonight, and it does have a set of gauges, so that's why this piece is gone. But I will show you if I put this thing in neutral. She fires up now. Now, the downside to all this there is no throttle response. Now, I've gone through this thing. There's been a ton of wiring that has been behind the scenes on this thing. We did throw a new engine harness in it, so everything from the engine to the transmission back. Unfortunately, this whole truck, I don't know, there has been quite a few wires that have been messed with or modified, and I'm pretty sure this thing, with the way I've seen it, it was probably sitting in a field or a barn or something where like mud is caked up. There was definitely mice living in this thing. Now, with it starting, I do need to pull the tack. I've gotten approval to pull the tack, or pull the whole instrument cluster, resolder it so the tachometer works and all that. And the new transmission harness has instead of having an electronic four-wheel drive, it is a floor shifter four-wheel drive. Now, we can always swap that, but again, all the other harnesses were damaged. The PCM was damaged. That got tested. It was fried. The TIPM, that had a lot of problems to it. A lot of things were shorted out, and we still have problems like the instrument cluster. No tachometer on the instrument cluster, which those are common on third gens, not a big deal. Also threw a factory radio back in it. I had one in stock, so I just threw them one. And all in all, I mean, as you can see, like this thing has been a project and a half, and it's one of those things. Usually I'm pretty good at getting stuff in within and out within like 3 weeks tops. This thing has been well over a year in the making. Actually, I think we're over, yeah, like 13 months, something like that. And it's one of those, this was initially, it came in as a project truck. It was going to be a work truck. It got a brand new motor. Previous owner did a rebuild on that, but it's just been having a ton of electronic problems, and it all started when the batteries went in it. The only problem we have left is the throttle pedals itself. So I'm going to be pulling the dash, rewiring anything to do with the throttle pedal. I could do it with the dash in, but it doesn't take very long to pull these dashes out for me, like maybe 40 minutes, something like that. And also that'll give me some time to look and see if there's any more rat's nest damage, because it's like you'll see wires like this just chilling. And there has been a lot of damage from, I don't know if somebody cut and modified stuff. Actually, I know somebody cut and modified stuff, because before he even got it, like the fan clutch, that wiring was 8 butt connectors, and actually not even, it just had electrical tape around each one of the wires, and every one of them were cut for some reason. So this thing, there's been a lot of problems. So it is what it is. I'm gonna show you guys, we're gonna pull the dash and rewire this throttle pedal, because we are getting 0 throttle on my box. It worked before where I was getting 1 signal and then 1 signal was frozen. Now that the new pedal is in, we're getting nothing. And I did have to, I'll show you guys over here, one wire. This is a temporary wire that goes from there to under the pedal. That one had no continuity to either side. Now we have nothing at all. So I'll show you guys. Like I said, this is all temporary, but we are working on all of these. This is the wire here, but I'd like to get all this stuff pulled so I can actually route it nicely. Some of that stuff goes to that. Some of it goes over top. I'd rather just take the time, pull it out, rewire it the way that it needs to be, and we will go from there. So I know I've seen stuff over there that was questionable, but I come over here and we're starting to pull the wiring out. I got to get this thing off. But if you guys can see, like, even though this really doesn't affect anything, it's just the fact that I see wiring like that, and then this is just chilling here, and you know what I mean? Wires like that. And I don't know where some of this stuff goes. It just makes more sense for me to pull the dash and see what's all going on back behind there, because, well, let's be real here. If you want something done right, it makes more sense to get back there and actually be able to see everything. It's a little bit of time, yes. For me, I mean, generally to do heater cores, I charge an 8-hour day, $760, plus whatever the parts are. But for something like this, heater cores, I do them in about 3 hours and 45 minutes on 3rd gens and 3.5 hours on 4th gens. So I've got these things down, but I always flat rate it. But for me to come through here and pull this out and check the wiring, it's really not a bunch of times. You got 2 bolts there, you got 3 bolts here, there is 1 bolt right here, you have a bunch of bolts across, and then 3 bolts on the other side. This whole thing comes out, the pedals, all that stuff drops. So for me, it's not really all that difficult. A couple of 13s here, 10s, this whole 9 yards, this whole thing pops up. So I would honestly rather throw a little bit more time into it, knowing that it's going to be done right, as opposed to, like, I mean, if I see stuff like that, I'm obviously going to fix that. But this isn't even factory right here. This is just electrical taped. So I'm going to get all that taken care of as well. Like, things like that are not going to fly for me. This one looks all right, but again, it's something I want to be able to see it. So yeah, let's just keep pulling and see what mysteries we find behind this dash. All right, so that last clip was taken at 11:06. Unfortunately, I can't prove it to you, but there you go. Look at that. The other thing I got to do, get this thing off of there. I'm going to do that. So in 24 minutes, I'm able to get this thing to pull already. All I got to do is get that clip, and I already got that clip over there. So it is 11:30 on the dot right now. So pretty much what I wanted to do. I'm doing this one-handed. It's up in the air. Let me, oh, that's right. I got to undo this wiring here because this is going to pull. So that is a 10 mil bolt right there. And that was one of the things I was concerned with, because I can't remember if they're supposed to be loose like that. So I just got to unclip that one and a couple of clips right there, which actually I might just take it off the bracket itself and keep it all ran together. Oh, and then the, that's right, the e-brake cable. But that's easy. You just come back here. So, there we go. So pretty much, aside from that, we're going to call it, it takes me 30 minutes to pull these dashes in these 3rd gens. If you have a center console, add another 5 minutes to it, but all in all, that's not bad. I've been told guys are taking their stuff to the shops, and it's taking dealership. Holy shit. What the fuck? There's a cigarette in there. But guys are taking weeks. Oh yeah, there's another cigarette. To do these things, these heater cores. But yeah, I'm kind of glad I pulled the dash. So we're going to start looking over this wiring back in here and seeing what's all caked and whatnot. But yeah, this needed to be done no matter what. All right, so started going through all of the harnesses. We got everything. It's a rat's nest, but I found all 6, made sure that there wasn't any duplicates in there, which is a good thing. I went over here, compared them all to what we have going on here. Now, having this dash out is going to allow me to rewire all of this and make it look factory, but that will allow us to pretty much rewire this whole thing, make sure everything's correct. So what I'll probably do is I would like, now that I have all of them in my hand, I'd like to go through with a multimeter and load test every one of them. But when I did this before, I didn't have the dash out, but this wire here was not good. Now I put a temporary wire in between. Unfortunately, we still had problems, but it seemed like everything was leading up to this guy right here. And this harness here for the engine has been replaced. So that is all new. That was a good running, driving truck. It came off of a running, driving motor. This is the only harness on the truck. Well, on, you know what I mean, on this side with that section that was not replaced. So I've already gone through and checked under here. There were a few wires that I did end up fixing. And same thing goes up here. Now, these 6 are problems. So now that that's all out, I'm going to go through and multimeter test it and see if any of them are out of place. All right, we're going through multimeter testing all of them. We've got that off. So far, this first one is not looking so good. These two have power. So we're gonna check the next one, which would be, if I could see it, is like a purple brown. Brown with a little bit of purple. Gonna go through that one. So far, that number one one's pretty important. And between these two outer ones were the ones that we were having problems with. So I'm glad we did all this because, yeah, I mean, wiring is never fun. But if we can figure this problem out, get everything buttoned up, this thing physically runs and drives and everything. So if it's not one thing, it's another. All right, so got this all nice and wired. And I'm gonna vacuum a lot of this before I just put this back up there, because that is horrid. I would like, at least I would have liked to pull this dash out, but it's always that harness right there. I'm gonna try to see if I can easily, but I'm pretty sure you have to get way underneath the carpet to grab that. So I'm gonna do what I can, get a lot of this stuff out, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, mainly get that cleaned off and vacuum the whole top of the dash. Start pulling some of the crap wiring that's back here. Like you can see, that wire's cut right there, and that was another reason I did this. But I'm pretty sure I figured out every one of these pins out to the ECU connector, or to that connector up there. So if anything else is wrong, I already know all 6 of the pins up there. I'm not going to tidy that up until I know what's going on, but I'd like to get some of this stuff cleaned up because that shouldn't be like that. Not that it was hurting anything, but it's going to hurt something in the future if I don't. So, all right, so to put this back together, I had to vacuum out a lot of this crap in here. Still got a couple of things to do, but I'm going to fix a couple more wires over there while this is out, and then we're going to throw this thing back together just as a temporary. Just get everything pretty much plugged in, but I'm not going to bolt anything down until I know it all works. And then that's the main thing. I'm not going to worry about that for now. I did pull the door out, that top door, but all of this whole thing's dusty. It definitely could use a good replacing, but my job is I need to get this thing at least running and driving so I can pull it out, because I do have other stuff coming in this week. And the injectors for Bertha will be here Monday, so I need to get Bertha done Monday night, get the tune in it, and then I can drive that around. But as you can see under here, I got to fix that. And then this door I got out, this is someone zip tied in there to keep it open. And then there was random RCA wire, but again, wouldn't know what that was until we got everything. But everything else back here looks okay for what it is. I doubt anything dash wise is affecting the thing that we're having a problem with. And then that, just for my peace of mind, we're going to take care of as well. But I can do that while the dash is back in. Started cleaning some of that stuff up. Same thing with over here. This whole thing was just caked. So look, more wiring. Just yeah, so I had to move everything from here to the back, so it looks kind of like a clusterfuck. But I'm gonna throw this back, and we'll go from there. Let's see if we have a working throttle pedal. All right, so we have it fixed to a point, but look at those sensor voltages. We are getting nothing from sensor 2, but when I hit the throttle, we have 100%. Oh, we had throttle. Ah, yes, that was fun. I checked it the first time. It revved up. It took a minute to rev up, but it revved up. And now it don't rev up no more. So, yeah. This thing's been fun, I'm gonna say the least. We just had it. We had, at least, number 1 was working. Oh, I'm willing to bet I know what happened. I do not like how this thing runs at all. So much clacking. It has an exhaust leak up here. Holy crap. It has an exhaust leak from right here. But it runs. So, well, there you go. Between it running I need to put everything back together because everything's just kind of loosely here. So nothing of what I just did decided to record, but we have throttle position on both now. RPMs reads. Obviously need to bleed the power steering, but those injectors are very clacky. Yeah, it's clacking pretty bad. And I thought I filmed the startup, but apparently it wasn't recording. But she's pretty smoky. Now I don't care because I'm about done for the night. It's like 2:30 in the morning. We've got everything nice and tidied up. Would like to loom it, but look at all that. So definitely an exhaust leak here, and it's blowing up through, but she's definitely clacking. Everything under there is pretty dry. He said those injectors were brand new, but they're part stores injectors, so that's what's concerning me. Yeah, I don't know if I trust those injectors, unfortunately, but it runs. The only thing is the shift linkage. If you put it in park, it doesn't realize it's in park. Man, it is smoky in here. My eyes are burning. Not that it matters. A little bit of cancer, it's fine. So you have to start it in neutral, but besides that, actually, I am curious now. Oh, what I do with the key. Oh, the windows work now. Those didn't work before. I thought it was a glitch. Apparently it's not. The injectors are rattling because it is shooting to 26,000 PSI at idle. I think he said this pump was, well, I thought he said this pump was brand new, but I can't confirm nor deny that. And this wiring is all new. I'm gonna assume we have a bad FCA since all the wiring has been taken care of. So I'm gonna let him know we need to get an FCA. Unfortunately, I just sold all of, actually, you know what? I got a spare one on a motor over there, but I don't know if I want to take it. Yeah, I'm gonna have him buy a new FCA, and then hopefully that fixes our problem because all the wiring has been taken care of. I think that now that we fixed the throttle, that's our next issue. It makes a lot of sense. So I'm done for the night. I'm just gonna let this thing sit. So I will say we were messing with a few little electrical gremlins before I pulled the dash. Like we had a couple little just odds and ends that just were not right. After pulling the dash, throwing everything back in, checking all the connections for everything, especially redoing that connection up there. Everything, I mean, you saw the windows didn't work before, and now they work. Everything is so much better, and now that we've been able to actually rev the motor up, we can see that the tach still works, but it is laggy. So this cluster is savable. It just needs all the solder joints resoldered. So we're gonna do that tomorrow. You can throw a lot of money at these trucks. You really can, especially when they've been sitting. But I remember day one when we got this truck in, I remember putting it up on the trailer and seeing all the wiring that was back here. Just a mess. Look, there's a spider right there. Like, all that wiring, just the way that it's cut and whatnot, and then seeing all of that. It really starts to paint a picture once you start pulling wire harnesses and replacing everything. So it's definitely been a patience on both of our parts between me and the customer. And on top of that, I mean, there was also times where we had to put it on hold for a couple months at a time. And just, I mean, I'm so glad that it finally runs and we have throttle. It's been fun. Well, not really, but it's been a project. So see you guys tomorrow. All right, as you guys can see, swapped out the FCA. We now have, it runs perfect. So no more of that bullshit. I had to go and grab another soldering iron last night because mine just took a crap. So we're gonna pull this dash out. Not the dash, but I'm gonna pull this out. And it idles at about 6,000, 5,800, somewhere around there. So pull this out, resolder the tachometer, make all that work, and then we can do the engine break-in, and we're going to do a hot retorque. We're pretty much gonna do everything tonight, and then we're gonna leave the valve adjustment for when the engine is cool. But we gotta do all that now, but this thing runs absolutely flawlessly. So stay tuned to the end of the video, and I'll show you guys that. All right, so I'm not gonna show you guys what I did, but there is a couple of things back here that gets resoldered so that the tack works. Now, we're gonna put this thing in. I'm gonna check the calibration, make sure everything's good, make sure I didn't mess any numbers up. I tried to clean this thing as best as possible on the inside. And we'll get this thing slapped in. And I'll show you guys the tack works, and then I will show you how good it runs. We're gonna open the door though, because I am not stinking the shop out again, and then we gotta do a full break-in. We gotta get the brakes working and the whole 9 yards, so. All right, obviously you wanna test it beforehand. All right, there you go, tachometer works. All right, so it is time. It is time to do the camshaft break-in. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull the cap off. We gotta run it, we gotta get it up to temperature, and then I need to see if I even have that size for the head bolt. I only have these guys here, and I don't know. Ooh, I don't know if I will have the right size. That's a 10. I don't think I'm gonna have the right size to do the hot retorque. Oh, well, I guess I do. All right. Do these can these things hold 120 foot-pounds? Oh man, I don't think they can, but hey, guess we'll find out. If not, I'll have to order one. So let's get this thing backed out and get her running at 1,800 to 2,000 RPMs for about 20 minutes. All right, so this will genuinely be the first time it starts and drives under its own power. All right, it was low, but she runs now. Put 3 quarts in it, and she moved under her own power. All right, I'm gonna put the old auto stick under it. Get that camshaft broken in. Woo! She's stinky. I would have thought that'd be too loud out here for 11 o'clock at night, but back here, the closest house is way up there, so you can't really hear it out here. So I'm gonna let this run until about 11:05. All right, truck has been running for, I accidentally spilled some water. Ooh, I don't like these caps. But truck has been running for about 20 minutes at 1,800 RPMs. So gonna get the valve cover off and go through, check the torque, pull all the rockers. And I put 3 quarts of ATF in it. It's definitely gonna need more to drive. So let's finish this thing up. We are almost done. Also, we had a little bit of a transmission fluid leak. Tiny, very, very tiny at the front, right there. So hopefully that's taken care of. I think it just wasn't pushed on all the way. So went and pushed that on a little bit more. Once we know everything's good, I can put the liners back on. So I really have no experience with head bolts that are Allen head like that. And I looked online to find the power-driven diesel ones because I know that they're the ones that made the new ones, or at least I'm pretty sure that's what this is. And I couldn't find a torque spec. So I was looking, I'm like, all right, you know what? Let's just go for 120 foot-pounds, right? And I go to do 120 foot-pounds on this hot retorque, and every one of them moved. Some moved a little bit, some moved quarter turn, point range the same. They all moved, every one of them. And this little adapter did all of it, no problem. So I put it at, it was right at 120 foot-pounds. So now we can throw the top end back on, start doing our valve adjustment. I'm gonna let it cool off a little bit. All right, well, let's just keep chugging away. Let's get this valve train back on. And then we'll do our valve adjustment. Pretty much we'll spin it over with the alternator, I guess not. So, all right, well, fuck it. We're gonna get it all back together. Since it moved, obviously that's gonna loosen up the valves a little bit. The head's getting crushed down. So it'll either loosen or tighten them up. I don't know, it's late now, so I don't even care to, someone comment some stupidity down below. But I'm gonna get these back on and we'll go from there. All right, so my way might not be as quick. And the reason I'm saying that is because I wanna do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what I'll do over here, and I just did 1, 2, and 3. So 6 was rocking, then I did 1, 4 was rocking, I did 3, 5 was rocking, I did 2. So I did it basically 1, 2, 3. So I'm gonna be looking, intake's gonna go down all the way. As it's coming up, right as it's overlapping on the exhaust stroke, we're gonna be able to do 4. So watch this as I spin the motor over with the alternator. See how 5's going down over there? Sorry, 5. See how 4 is going down over there? You can see this one's going down. So eventually, we're gonna get it to, all right, see how this one's starting to move? This is how I do valve adjustments every time. This is what separates the men from the boys. So, we'll fast forward this. All right, see how this one's coming up and this one's going down? This one's tight, this one, you know what I mean? This one's up, this one's going down. Now there's a little bit of overlap in the Cummins cam for the EGR. So right now, number 4, loose and loose. So this one just came up, this one's going down, they're in overlap right now. So now we can do 4, and then same thing. Once 2 is in overlap, you can do 5. Once 1 is in overlap, you can do 6. And every cylinder is in a pair. 1, 6, 2, 5, 3, 4. So just keep that in mind. That's how you do it. If you fuck this up, you can ruin a motor. It's just, I know people who have done it. You want to make sure this is perfect. And honestly, once everything's done, I like to spin the motor completely over an entire full turn to make sure I haven't fucked up, because I have had one in the past, a long time ago, where we kissed a valve and a piston, but I caught it because I spun the motor over by hand. It just stopped. So I went back, figured out which one it was, and it turns out I actually had one of the push rods in the block itself as opposed to in the tappet. So just keep that in mind. When you're putting these rockers back on, you need to be super careful. It's easier than you think to fuck it up. So just keep that in mind. So aside from throwing tranny fluid in it, I got to throw the valve cover back on. We got everything. I just did number 6. As you can see, number 1's a rocking. So, or in overlap, as you would call it. But I know you guys are looking at that bolt down there. I got to tighten that thing up. But besides that, and that means I'll probably have to check all the torque of them, because that was already on here when I got the truck. So I know somebody's gonna point it out. I mean, coolant's full, I don't like these caps, so do not recommend running those at all. I've run them in the past and they just cause nothing but problems. Cooling system doesn't pressurize the way it's supposed to. This thing's far from perfect. There is a couple of little odds and ends that he's gonna have to go through and do, like this tube here. When I got it, this thing was broken. This goes down to the crankcase vent. So one of them's broken. That's just a drain, so it's not really gonna hurt anything. You can still drive it, but he needs to get in alignment. And a couple other things that I'm not gonna be able to, I don't have any way of towing it to get it aligned. Guys, so other than, need a key. Other than filling up the trans fluid and the power steering fluid, and then I just gotta bleed the rear brakes, everything is back together. Now, obviously, so this is gonna get pulled and these are gonna get replaced in the whole 9 yards, but I can't do a drive video on this thing because it's gonna need an alignment, and I can't drive it around like that. It's gonna need tires, the whole 9 yards. So we're either towing it down there or he's towing up to us and he's towing it down. But the whole thing's complete. I just wanted to show you guys that this thing runs. Now, this has been the most frustrating, time-consuming project I have ever had. This was not a simple throw a motor in it. This wasn't a throw transmission in it. This wasn't even like, you know what I mean, like a full restoration or rebuild. It was literally, this thing has had so many wiring issues. And the background of this truck, I mean, I think he bought it with a blown motor, rebuilt the motor, and then once it was thrown in, it wouldn't start or do anything. And it all started when the batteries got replaced. And I started digging into this wiring. If you weren't around for when I started this truck, I started digging into the wiring, and there was so many wires chewed up between the harness up here, which I still got a loom. That's not a big deal. The whole engine harness. We replaced the engine harness, the transmission harness. It still was having problems. The PCM was fried. The TIPM ended up getting replaced because that one I got that sent out for testing, and there was corrosion and stuff in there. There was a couple wires back here that were broken. And then we go into the, you know what I mean, in this video. Then we come in here and wiring back here's shot. The throttle pedal wouldn't work. I went through all the wiring. He bought a throttle pedal for it. I threw that in, still nothing. Like, there were a couple things that where it was like, he just kind of pulled the trigger on it. I was like, let's wait, but he bought it. So, like, the pedal there. But then everything else, I mean, the dash was out of this thing in this video. Everything is in the back. I had to move everything, but I vacuumed a lot of this out of the front because just to get this stuff back in. This is broken, so I can't get that in all the way, but the truck physically starts up and runs. Now it does need an adjustment on there, but runs great. We will have a service four-wheel drive light, and then the brake light. I need to go and bleed the brakes. I don't know why the ABS light isn't on, but all of this pretty much got moved, so this isn't even attached anymore. You get the point. Oh man, this thing has come a long way, and it's still got a couple of little things, odds and ends, like the trailer wiring and some of that stuff's not going to work. It still needs tires, still needs an alignment. When I got it in, the brake rotor, the calipers were on upside down, so I had to pull them and swap them. They had the bleeder on the bottom, so swapped that out. That's why I got to bleed everything. This was from the fender flares that were in the bed, so got all that out. But all in all, I am so glad to say this truck is done. And I'm pretty sure that leak is gone. That was dripping from last night, just a little bit. I'm really glad, and I'm sure he's gonna be glad to get this back. But this was a project truck. It's not like it was a work truck or anything like that, at least not yet. It's getting built to be a work truck. So the guy's never used it before. He just bought it off of somebody else from what I understand. So I'm sure I'm gonna get shit in the comments for having this thing as long as it is, but people don't know the situation and how many times we've put this thing on hold. And I mean, a lot of money has gone into this thing as well. I mean, a brand new motor pretty much. So, and I don't know about the transmission, but if you guys saw all the mud that was caked under this thing, like there's still, this thing needs a good up in the air pressure washing. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you do need anything, we are doing this full time now. So this isn't the only project we have this week. I've got about 3 of them coming in this week. One of them, injectors will be here today. So I will 100% be throwing injectors in Bertha today. So look out for that video. But if you want to support us, cpstevemiller.com. We usually have a 1 to 2 week turnaround time depending on what parts you need. If it's something quick, usually a day or 2 turnaround time. Like if we're doing heater cores, that's a day. You know what I mean? If you're coming in and you need injectors or something, depending on where you need, it could be a week or 2 or just depends on what you need. So see you guys, cpstevemiller.com. See you in the next one.